this morning, you're going to get the story and the scripture and everything all together. It is 2 chapters that's in your bulletin. I'm not going to read it to you. That'd be no fun. And it is some of the most dramatic and dynamic text in all of the Bible. And I apologize that it's a little out of order in our mountain climbing, but that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. So I've been using some gifts of the mountain that I've received. And so I think if I can have Catherine turn, I think the first one, yes. Get your bearings, or you might end up someplace you don't want to be. This has been the first one several times, right? And it's going to stay that way, just so you know. Now you know the right one to be number 1. And to get our bearings in story, we are going to be hearing a story of the time of King Ahab. Now, King Ahab is after King David. So if you can put your mind, at some point there was no king. There was King Saul, and there was King David, and there was King Solomon. And Solomon had some sons who did not learn the children's time message, because Solomon's sons fought with each other, believe it or not. And Solomon's sons fought with each other, not just but with swords and armies, and ended up splitting what David had united. And we have 2 kingdoms after Solomon, the north Israel and the south Judah. It's alphabetical, north to south, just so you can remember. So the north is Israel, and that's where our story takes place. It takes place well after Solomon, after Jeroboam, who was almost the worst of the lot. And it takes place during the time of Ahab. And the text says that in the 38th year of King Uzziah of Judah, southern kingdom, Ahab, the son of Omri, began to reign over Israel. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria. Oh, you've heard that word place before. For 22 years. And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of the Lord more than any who were before him. And if that had been a light thing for him, he would have been fine. But to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, who was almost the worst of the lot, he took for a wife Jezebel, the daughter of the Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. And he erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, and he built in Samaria. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger him than did any of the kings of Israel who went before him. Jeroboam was almost the worst of the lot. Ahab more before him. And remember, this is the geographic space of our story, right? We have the Sinai and all the way up into Israel, the land that had been conquered by Moses, or dreamed of by Moses, conquered by Joshua, and now divided by Solomon's son. Remember the yes at the bottom of Mount Sinai? Oh, sure, Moses, we'll do everything the Lord commands us. Golden calf. And remember that Joshua had to gather the people at Shechem in the base of the Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal and say, remember who you serve. Oh, yes, 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 yes. And here we are again, at a time where the leader of Israel has done so much to draw the people away. Now, Elijah was a prophet, and he came to King Ahab, and he said to King Ahab, you are not doing the right thing. You're simply not. You're drawing all the people away to Baal, and that is not the way of God. And because you have done this, it will not rain for a year. It will not rain until I say so, says Elijah. Now, Ahab was not happy with that and really sought to kill Elijah right then and there, but that did not happen because Elijah fled, Elijah fled north. And after the first year, the streams dried up. After the second year, the rivers and the lakes dried up. And in the third year, everything and everyone was parched. And at that time, in the third year, Elijah says to Obadiah, another man whose name has never been mentioned before, and until now, Obadiah comes to Elijah, and Elijah says, go talk to King Ahab. Tell him I'm gonna go see him. And Obadiah's like, oh no, I am not your man. Because if you don't show up and I tell Ahab to meet you, it's a short life for me. Obadiah, says Elijah, go tell him. Go tell him, and I will be there. I will be there. Trust me, I will be there. Obadiah, probably against his better instincts, does indeed go to tell Ahab that Elijah will see him. Elijah will see him on Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel, it's right there. Do you see Mount Carmel sticking out into the ocean? Right on the western shore of Israel. And as on Mount Carmel, is it Carmel or Caramel? Carmel, Mount Carmel. Elijah tells Ahab to gather all the people of Israel. Gather all the people of Israel together, and Elijah does, or Ahab does. Gathers all the people. And Elijah says to them at Mount Carmel, you can just go to the next slide that's blank so you don't need to be looking at the map and wondering what I'm going to say about it, because the maps are done for now. Elijah says to all the people that have gathered, you get to choose. Sound like an echo of Moses? Sound like an echo of Joshua? You get to choose. You get to choose the God of all, the high, most high God. You get to choose that or not. Your choice. And I figure a way we can figure this out. This is what we're going to do. He said, I'm going to invite 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah, the consort of Baal. That's 850. I can do that much math. 850 prophets of Baal and Asherah to come up on the mountain with me, and I will be the one. Just me, just one, standing for Yahweh, the God Most High. And we're going to duke this one out. But instead of with an army and a battle, we're going to do this. We're going to have a fire. You guys get to build your fire, lay out the wood, and I'll lay up the wood in mine, and we'll each take an oxen. We'll slaughter that oxen in an offering to our God and lay it on the wood that has been gathered for a fire. And then, whichever God brings fire, that's the right one to worship. Now this, you guys have to know that there were graven images. Remember, thou shalt not have any graven images. Right? Graven images of Baal. And Baal was a regal Mesopotamian-looking guy, and in his hand he didn't have a sword, he didn't have a scepter, he had a bolt of lightning. They were convinced, our God's got this, got lightning in his hand, no problem. And Elijah was kind. He said, look, there's so many of you, let you go first. I'll go second. So Elijah allows them to go first, and the prophets of Baal, all 850 of them, they prayed and they petitioned, they sang and they chorused, oh la 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 la, and nothing happened. They did this for a while. They got a little louder, oh la 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 la, ooh la 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 la, and nothing happened. And Elijah's just standing over there going like, you sure about this? You sure your God's awake? Maybe you should be a little louder. And he got louder. And they're, oh, la, 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 la. Nothing happened. And so it was that Elijah said, well, maybe your God's going on vacation. You should do something a little bit more exuberant. And so they did. They hopped around and they sang and nothing happened. Elijah's just sitting there going, yeah, whatever. They jumped around, they shouted, they screamed, they did everything that they could do, and they started slicing themselves. Blood was pouring. Oh, surely our God will hear our cries now. Oh, la, 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 la. Nothing happened. Elijah said, enough, guys. Take a break. Let me do my thing. We'll see how this ends up. You guys already have a clue, don't you? You know how it's going to end up, right? Well, Elijah goes over and he had gathered 12 stones together. 12 stones he had put together, 12 stones for the 12 sons of Jacob, 12 stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. Gathered them, the wood was upon it, the bull was slaughtered on either side. And Elijah simply said, God, your people have broken covenant time and time again. Is there any way you can show them again that you're God? Boom! Just in case you were sleeping. Fire came down, consumed all the, oh, wait, I forgot a detail, an important detail before the boom, because Elijah says, I want you to pour water on his stuff. He poured water on the wood, and he poured water on the wood 3 times, lots of water, and then he prayed, and then, what had happened? Boom, the fire came down, consumed all that wet wood. You know that doesn't burn easily. That wet wood, and that bull that had offered in sacrifice, there was nothing left. And you know what the people did? Oh, yes, 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 we will worship you, God. Oh, yes, yes, they fell on their faces. And Elijah says to Ahab, get up, have something to eat, drink some wine, all is well. And Elijah went up to the very highest point of Mount Carmel. He took a young servant with him, and he prayed when he got to the top of the mountain. Deep, quiet, interceding prayer for the people of God. Someone else will pray on a mountaintop for our love. Then he asked the young servant that was with him, do you see anything? You remember where that mountain was? On the western shore, overlooking the great sea of the Mediterranean, right? And he had the young servant look there and said, do you see any rain yet? Nope. Look again. Nope. Ask your 13-year-old to look again. All right, whatever. Oh. I see a cloud about the size of a hand on the horizon. He said, let's get down now. Let's get down to the bottom now, and we will tell Ahab the rain is coming, and he should get off the mountain as quickly as possible. And the rain came, the first rain in 3 years at the word and prayer of Elijah. The rain came, and Elijah and Ahab went down the mountain. Now Ahab, he went home to the palace, where he told Jezebel everything. Absolutely everything. Gift number 2, sometimes it's better not to know how hard the trail or how far you have to go. Because once Jezebel heard what had happened on that mountain, you have not seen the likes of the anger that fled from her. And she said, you better watch your way, Elijah, because when I find, by this time tomorrow, you will be as dead as all those prophets. Well, Elijah wasn't hanging out too long, and so he fled. He fled south. He fled south all the way through the land of Israel, all the way past Jerusalem south, all the way to the bottom of that map to Beersheba. And at Beersheba, after a long journey, he let his servant go and walked yet even further. 1 full day into the wilderness he walked. And when he got there, lay down under a broom tree and said, I'm done. I I've done everything I can, God. I told them all. And now I run as a wanted man. Let's just end this thing. Elijah was awakened that night. Elijah was awakened by an angel. Get up and eat. He's in the wilderness, one full day south of Beersheba. No quick trip in sight. Get up and eat. Groggily, perhaps wiping the sleep from his eyes, he rolls over and sees there pig, bread, hot on the coals and water. In the midst of the wilderness, there is God's provision. Get up and eat. So he did. Very good idea to follow the advice of an angel. Got up and ate. Josh, remember what he did? Just what you want to do right now. Go back to sleep. The angel woke him up again. Angel woke him up again and said, get up and eat, boy. Get up and eat. You have a long journey ahead of you. Long journey ahead of you. And you're going to eat what I've got for you here. And he ate that day. Bread from the provision of God, water from the provision of God, and then he walked for 40 days and 40 nights. Heard that before? 40 days and 40 nights he walked. He walked south into the wilderness. He walked to the bottom of the mountain of God. And there at the mountain of God, he went into a cave and said, I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't trust that the people have heard your word, Lord. Yes, yes, falls easily off their lips. Yes, yes, and a golden calf. Yes, yes, and Shechem. Yes, yes, at the power of fire, but yes, yes, on the day-to-day. Elijah hid to save his life, for fear of unknowing, for wondering what it is that God would have him do. The wind rises most when you're naked. And Elijah in that cave was naked. He might have had clothes on, but his soul was naked to the Lord. And the Lord showed up and said, Elijah, what are you doing in here? 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 Lord, I try. When people don't hear. Elijah said, I don't know what to do. And the Lord said, it's simple. Come to the edge of the cave, and I will tell you what to do. I will come to you. Now, Elijah had never experienced a theophany, the presence of God right there in his midst. He knew God in his heart, but not in this way. And he felt vulnerable and naked and raw and fear-filled and expectant and hopeful and all of it. All at once. And then came the hurricane. A wind so strong and so powerful, it broke the very rocks of the Mount of Sinai. Elijah heard nothing. Then there came the earthquake. The rocks shook beneath his feet. He was unsteady and unable to keep his balance, and he thought, surely the God is here, and there was no presence of God. Then came fire. Fire like that, boom. It's got to be here, thought Elijah. The fire, he looked into the depths of the fire, the power of fire, and he saw fire. And he waited. And he waited. And he waited, wondering, how will I hear the voice of God? Wind rises most when you're naked. Elijah, like some of us at given times in our life, have been naked before the Lord. And the still small voice came. Said, I am. And I will be with you. And I will not abandon you. I will not forsake you. I am. Elijah, go from this place. This is not where you're to be. Hidden away. Go back to Israel and tell them of my steadfast love. In that quiet, Elijah heard what he should do. Go tell of God's steadfast love. And he did. He went north. He found Elisha, who would follow him. And he told everyone of the still small voice of the still speaking God, who can make booms with no sound. And it is my prayer that from Elijah's mountaintop of Mount Carmel to Elijah's mountaintop of Mount Sinai, you can find your place and way in that story. And that when you have felt you didn't know where to go, you didn't have enough to get you there, and you were vulnerable and naked, you were before the God of all things, the God of creation, and that God will be with you.